Hello everybody. I hope everybody's doing good today. If you couldn't tell already by the thumbnail, we are drawing Kokomi from Genshin Impact, and she is a Hydra user and also a healer. I learned that out the hard way. I tried to make her a combat style character, and it turns out no matter how much attack, defense, everything you put on her, it actually makes her go into the negative. So I guess Voiceover strictly made her to be a healer. And so my idea at first was to draw her as a mermaid, and as you can see in the background I wrote Fontaine, so I was going to draw her as a mermaid in Fontaine, but I said Kokomi already has the mermaid theme and she is just a perfect as is, so I didn't want to add in any extra trouble of trying to learn how to draw a fishtail. So maybe for other characters I will draw them as a mermaid or merman, mermaid or merman in the Fontaine areas. So I do love incorporating simple backgrounds. I hope to one day be able to do more advanced backgrounds, but I know with each piece I'll continue to practice, and with practice it just gets better. I hope that everybody likes these kind of videos, because I know I personally really like seeing time-lapse videos and love understanding other people's process on how they go from a sketch to a finished piece. So we'll see how this goes. If anything, I take these as a learning opportunity for me to look back on and be like, oh, I could have done this differently, or I could have done that differently. So as you can see, of course we're starting out with a sketch. I just don't jump in immediately with the coloring process, as you've seen on several of my other videos. But generally I end up doing almost about like 3 sketches, I would say. I've got my rough base sketch, and then I got more refining sketch on putting where everything needs to be, and then I refine that sketch even more, and then I do like a final sketch. But oddly enough, I've been liking to merge all my layers once I get base colors down, and then I draw on top of all of that. So I kind of end up getting rid of the sketch eventually, and I just end up painting over all of it. So once again, we're using Procreate. And in the Procreate app, I do have the JingSketch brushes, and I've modified a couple of those to be able to use them. I prefer to use the sketch brush, and there's more of like a painterly base brush that I prefer to use, and generally end up using the round brush the whole entire time. Occasionally I'll use the render brush to finally get smaller areas more refined, but I'm still learning how best to use those brushes. But yes, so here we are in Kokomi's drawing. Like I said, the sketch goes on for a little bit, drawing a little fishy. But in general, I hope everybody, like I said before, is doing well. And if you are playing Genshin Impact, I hope you're enjoying the game and all your pools are going great. I think the most recent banner is with Arlecchino, and I dig her. Now, trying to get the weapon is another story. There's just not enough primogens in the game to get everything that you want to get, but we all take those battles as we come across them. But yes, you'll see probably a couple flashes, and that is mainly me just going between the layers to see if there's anything that needs to be added before. Most of the time I end up deleting the very base layer and then going from there. And then I ended up researching some backgrounds from Fontaine, and I just wanted to throw in some coloring. I really didn't get too specific on it, and you'll see later on that I add some more water effects towards the end as I had completed the piece. Now you may be wondering, why are you drawing everything behind the character? Well, a lot of the color placement is affected by your background colors. Color theory kind of goes out the window, and I'm not the best at color theory at all. You'll see that the color variations change later on, and I tend to add an overlay filter over it and choose a more warmer tone to go over the skin, because sometimes the colors are just pretty dull. And this drawing took me in total about 4 hours to complete, if I recall correctly, but of course I split it over 2 days, because if I start staring at something for so long, you end up missing your own imperfections. But even now I'm looking back at it, I'm like, oh, I could have done this differently, could have done that differently. But I do like Kokomi's style. She's very flowy. She's got very nice pastel colors. I do have the reference that I use partly in the reference JPEG window that I have set up, and was quite difficult because her material is very flowy, and I try to capture that. Once again, I'm not the best with the flow of materials, but with each piece comes more practice. And I just put in the base colors. It's not complete. As I said, I end up flattening all my layers. I know what I do is I group them in Procreate. You group them, and then I duplicate that layer, and I kind of hide the other layer, and then I flatten all the other ones. So then that puts my colors, my sketch, my everything all in one layer, and then I start coloring over it. So I'm still refining parts of it before I start doing that. It takes me quite a while, I see, to figure out which way is best to do things, and I do apologize if you hear any extra background sounds. I'm recording during the day, and it's quite hard to control sounds in the background. But yes, I do like drawing Kokomi. I do like drawing in general, and except for the mouth apparently, because I ended up erasing the mouth at some point, and I found that I just really didn't like the mouth placement. I'm like halfway contemplated. I was like, maybe I should just like not draw a mouth at all. But this is a newer art style that I am trying out, and I do like it a lot. It's the more anime yet somewhat stylized, but not like 100%. It's like that in between. And I catch myself sometimes that I end up over rendering things, and then it's too realistic. I'm like, well, I wasn't trying to be super realistic, and it's just, I'm still working on my balance on how best to draw and what works out best for these pieces. I do really like drawing Genshin Impact characters, and you'll see that I've recently started drawing some Honkai Star Rail characters, and I just started that game as well, and I got to the point now it's at the to be continued series, and oh my word, I hate waiting for things to be continued. I love completing things. I love completing characters, so needless to say, not only on Genshin but also in Honkai Star Rail, I'm working on leveling everybody up to the max and working on everybody's talents and artifacts, and it's it's a lot to do, but I do like to do the completion. So as you can see, the mouth did pop back in. I was not 100% happy with the placement of the mouth, but like I said, with each piece, it will continue to practice and figure out what works best. Oh, something else I forgot to mention. If you've watched my previous videos on the time lapse, you'll notice that the sizing of the time lapse is a little bit different. So I decided to try out it was like a 5x7 canvas, because I was looking at prints for the future if I do conventions again, and the previous dimensions I was using is more so for Instagram posts, which I can easily reformat this for an Instagram post. But as far as shrinking it down from the Instagram size to the 5x7 size, or even an 8x10, it just makes it a little bit more difficult, and you end up losing part of the images. So I think what I may do in the future, and I'll have to reformat this background if I continue to do the Procreate Timelapse, is to size it for the 5x7 canvas. And then we shall see. I hope to be able to do more ASMR videos and like draw with me videos in the future, and once I get my computer set back up in its normal place, I will definitely be able to do that. And I'm happy that I'm able to do a lot of these drawings recently. It is a lot easier to do and post the Procreate time-lapse, but I do understand that people like the actual process, and to hearing the pencil and the iPad and the paper-like screensaver, or screen protector, should I say, not saver. Yes, which I personally like that too. Like, I just like having it as background noise. Let's see. So this is also a part where we're working on refining over the sketch. You'll see I spent a lot of time on the hair, oddly enough, in this piece, but then if you look, it kind of goes in a counterclockwise. So the right direction, yeah, like the counterclockwise rendering. Like, I started out with the hair and then worked my way to the left and back down and back over and back, and then go to the middle. I don't know why I do this, but it's just like, as I see something and I connect it and I go. Sometimes in my videos you'll see that I go back and forth, and I know it can be quite confusing at times, and I try to point that out with the little chat box, but I know that's probably not 100% effective. But anywho, as we render, we're just gonna enjoy the chill vibes. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything else to really talk about in this video. This is like a completely new experience to me, and so I'm rewatching it along with y'all. I could see we still have about like maybe 4 minutes left at this point in time. But yes, if there's any characters that you would really like to see me draw in the future, feel free to let me know. But for the most part, my goals is to draw the characters in correlation also to their birthdays. Genshin Impact does have their birthdays, but Honkai Star Rail does not really have birthdays, so I may look more so on their release dates and go based off of that. But there's actually a couple characters, especially from Honkai Star Rail, that I really just want to draw, and the same with Genshin Impact. There's a couple as well, and whenever I was drawing this, it really made me want to draw Barbara, so maybe I'll draw Barbara next, and then bring that one. I don't know if I can make that one into a draw with me style, but we shall see. This is all a learning curve. Like I said, I just post these videos to help others out, and hopefully others can join me in my fascination with Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail and all these other characters as well. So as I mentioned before, you see me, I flip back and forth. Like it's hard to show it on the time lapse, but of course if it was a live time lapse, then you would see me go back and forth between the previous group that I duplicated, just so that I can see how far it's come and what I like best, and should I have kept this or that. So like I said, this is still a new little art style that I'm working in, and it has been quite a learning curve. It does make me think more as to how to place things and what works best for the characters. But I do like her palette. It's very pastel-like. It's very simple, but colors that you would think, like I said, color theory does not exist to me. You can color something blue thinking it's blue, and then you put it on a different background and it turns out it's actually like a green or something. But it's fun learning these kind of things, and whatever I learn, I'll definitely bring it up forward. But it's just me just rendering. I'm trying to figure out at this point. I understand that it can be quite difficult to see where exactly I was at. Oh, okay. I was making shading because I wanted her kind of to blend partly into it. I halfway contemplated putting some plants in the front of her, but I kind of just let it be, and I got that clam in the background, which honestly, now that I look at it, it's not quite visible, but I do think I refined that more. And then this is where I took a multiply layer and I did a purplish blue hue, and then of course I erased all around it. I ended up doing a clipping mask, and I did duplicate, I don't know if it's going to be visible in this time lapse, but I did duplicate the whole entire canvas, and then I blurred it and erased out the main parts that I mainly wanted visible. And then I messed with some different coloring and hues and saturations. But I will have the completed piece at the end of this time lapse, and it seems like we're getting pretty close to the end. I hope everybody does well. Oh, here we go. Here's the water. I need to practice water more, but it's, like I said, it's a learning curve. I used a good bit of chromatic aberration and it worked out better. But I hope everybody is well and you have all enjoyed this video. It's come to a completion. And here's the final piece. Bye-bye.